You, of course, are not an agent for the CIA, are you?
No.
No, you see, you laugh.
Yes, I do.
You are not an agent for the KGB, are you?
No.
Are you laughing again?
Well, you ridiculed me for
No,
laughing.
no,
once,
I
so
don't mean
won't
to
do it
ridicule
again.
you for it. I just want to know if you find the inquiry amusing.
No.
You studied Russian?
Yes.
When did you first begin to study Russian?
I think it was around 57. I had been working with a young Quaker group that was interested in cultural exchange.
Yes, it just happened, just a coincidence that you chose Russian as a language of your interest? That's just a coincidence?
No, it wasn't a coincidence at all. I'm telling you that's because I felt it was really important to communicate between our countries in particular. This was the era of the Cold War. So.
Well, okay. It just is a coincidence that you befriended the wife of the man who was later charged with the murder of our president. That's all a coincidence too, isn't it?
Well.
Yes. And is it a coincidence that it was you, Mrs. Paine?
Yeah.
Yes? Who directed Lee to the job that put him in the Texas school book depository?
Yes, I think that was clearly a coincidence.
And it's just a coincidence that the gun that supposedly killed the president was located in your house? That's coincidence, isn't it?
What do you mean coincidence?
I mean, it just happened. It's just all of these things just sort of happened all around you. That's coincidence. You did give the FBI a letter that was supposed to have been written by Lee to the Soviet embassy, didn't you?
This was a draft of a letter that he left on my desk that concerned me very deeply because I could see he was lying in it. He used my typewriter, and that offended me deeply.
He left, it offended you that he
that
lied
he'd been
on
lying
your
on my typewriter, that's right.
Oh.
I didn't know who he was writing. The letter just said, "Dear Sirs."
And he left it right there for you to see?
He left it on my desk. I don't know why he left it there.
Yes. Doesn't
it
it
seemed
seem
just as strange as his leaving the light on in the garage.
Well, now, wait a minute. We'll get to the light in the garage in just a minute. Now, Mrs. Paine, I want to tell you something. I've talked to you about mere coincidences. But you can see...
a little guilt by association.
Yes, you can see how when I place questions to you like this that people can come to conclusions that you feel are wrong about.
That's true, they could.
What do you think he would have said had you said that you thought he was unkind to his family?
I think he would have seen me as an enemy if I said that.
Now that's really the truth, isn't it, Mrs. Paine? You
What?
didn't like him very well, did you?
Didn't like him very well. I wasn't trying to hurt him, though.
I say you didn't like him very well, did
No,
you?
I didn't like him very well.
As a matter of fact, you were having trouble with your own husband at the time, weren't you?
We were separated, planning
Yes.
to get a divorce.
At the time, you were separated and getting a divorce, and Lee and his wife were having trouble, isn't that right?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that you saw this more from your standpoint and Mrs. Oswald's standpoint than from Lee's?
Certainly I heard more from Marina about how her marriage was than I ever heard from Lee. I do think, for the historical record, it's important that people understand that Lee was a very ordinary person. That people can kill a president without that being something that shows on them in advance.
Let me ask you a question. Is it really your purpose here to try to defame this man in some way?
I'd like a full picture.
Yes.
I think it's really important for
Yes, so
history
do I.
that a full picture of the man be seen.
Thank you. Now, you never saw Lee in the garage, did you?
Pardon?
You never saw Lee in the garage, did you?
Not that evening, no.
And when you say he left the light on, that's simply a surmise on your part, isn't it? Isn't it, please?
Yes, I knew it wasn't myself, and I didn't think it was Marina. It didn't seem likely.
Now, relative to the garage, anybody else with minimal burglar skills could have got in your garage, isn't that true?
Whether we would have heard them.
And you were at another part of the house,
In the
weren't
bedroom.
you?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know. First of all, let's find out what you do know and what you've surmised and what you don't know and what you've guessed at.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you do not know that there was ever a gun in that house, do you?
I never saw one, that's true.
You don't know that Lee Oswald or anybody else took a gun from that house, do you?
Not from my own observation, no.
You don't know that Lee turned on that light, do you?
It's just my surmise, you're right.
Thank you. Now, a wedding ring was left behind.
Yes.
Sometimes that's done when couples are about to split the blanket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes people, when they're finished, if they're having a fight with each other, they say, "This is it, baby." That happens sometimes, doesn't it?
It could, yes.
Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to kill the president, does it?
No.
Mrs. Paine, you're aware of the fact that you talked to Lee after he was in jail, didn't you?
On the phone twice. Well,
And he was asking for help, wasn't he?
he asked me to call a particular lawyer, and he gave me a phone number.
Yes, he needed somebody to give him assistance.
Right. I said
Did you
I'd
think
call.
he should have it?
Yes, I thought he should have defense, a lawyer.
And were you amazed at the fact that about how completely certain Lee was as to his innocence?
Well, it wasn't that he said he was innocent. It was that it seemed remarkable to me that he could just ask blandly something of me at that point.
It seemed remarkable that he should ask you to call a lawyer for him. Didn't you tell the Warren Commission that you were impressed how calm Lee was and how completely certain, how completely certain Lee was
Why don't you read that?
of his innocence?
Read that, exactly.
Yes, I will. To express considerable irritation at his seeming to be so apart from the situation, so presuming of his own innocence, if you will.
Yes.
But I did say I would make the call for him. Did you make the call?
Yes, I tried to.
And did he seem so presuming of his own innocence?
He seemed so apart from the whole event, like it was nothing, like nothing had happened. And that was the presumption that I felt in his voice, like, nothing's happened.
But he seemed presuming of his own innocence, did he not?
He seemed unattached.
Do you see any reason why you just can't turn to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and say to them in clean, clear, honest English, he seemed presuming of his own innocence? That's true, isn't it?
That does not give the meaning that this whole passage you've quoted gives. Because what I was saying was that he was unattached to the events that had just happened. That's the way he seemed to me.
He seemed calm.
Yes.
He seemed confident.
Well, I wouldn't say that, no. In fact, he was irritated in the evening when he called and wanted to talk to Marina, and she wasn't there.
She wasn't there. Think a man in jail charged
Sure.
with the assassination of the president, who was innocent, who couldn't get out of jail, and who had been beaten by the police, and wanted to see his wife, might show
Sure.
a little irritation. Thank you, Mrs. Paine.
Thank you very much, Ms. Payne. You may step down.